In the waning years of the 1800s, in the bustling corridors of American politics, Congressman Ignatius L. Donnelly took an unprecedented diversion. Backed by the wealth of knowledge housed in the Library of Congress, a repository of history's riches established in 1800, Donnelly embarked on a quest not of politics, but of antiquity and mystery. His focus shifted to the whispers and echoes of a lost civilization, the enchanting tales of Atlantis. His research ventured where others hadn't, blurring the lines between imagination and scholarship, revitalizing ancient narratives for the modern seekers. Donnelly penned Atlantis, the antediluvian world, a tale seemingly at the crossroads of fiction and academia, yet it struck a chord in the hearts and minds of a burgeoning 20th century audience. It is one of the very reasons why today this story echoes in our literature and film. But where did he get this story from? And is there any truth to it? To tell this story, we need to travel to Egypt, back 2,600 years to around 600 BC. The story is said to have been inscribed on pillars in a temple in Sais, an ancient Egyptian city. Solon, an Athenian statesman and lawmaker, visiting Egypt, is credited with bringing the story of Atlantis back to Greece. The Egyptian priests told Solon that the events of Atlantis occurred approximately 9,000 years before, which would place the events around 9,600 BC. The tales of Atlantis meandered through time, passed among wise men and scholars, eventually down to Plato, who in 360 BC cast this ancient narrative into the annals of history, etching the enigmatic stories of Atlantis in the dialogues of Timaeus and Critias. From this rich historical tapestry, a pivotal question emerges. Was this intricate tale spun from the loom of allegory, a fabrication wielded to illustrate philosophical ideals and to critique the hubris of civilizations? But what if nestled within the folds of this allegorical narrative lies a strand of truth, a genuine foundation that hints at a civilization once grand, but now lost to the depths of time and ocean? It's one hell of a story, isn't it? So why has it not just faded into history as myth and fable? Perhaps to begin with, it's Plato's unusual deviation from allegory, insisting that this peculiar tale was grounded in truth, coupled with explicit details on its whereabouts and timeline. And here's where the tale takes a riveting turn. Our strides in modern geology and scholarly pursuits are not just echoing but amplifying Plato's ancient revelations, almost affirming that he wasn't merely crafting a story, but was onto a groundbreaking, monumental truth that we are just now beginning to grasp. So let's start with the first of the opening clues to its location and look at what Plato said geographically in his description.
For in front of the mouth which you Greeks call, as you say, the Pillars of Heracles, there lay an island which was larger than Libya and Asia together, and it was possible for the travelers of that time to cross from it to the other islands, and from the islands to the whole of the continent over against them, which encompasses that veritable ocean.
Here's what we know. Plato describes the Atlantic as once navigable, with an enormous island situated beyond the Pillars of Heracles, what we now know to be the Strait of Gibraltar. His reference to the Sea of Gibraltar being a harbor, and not the true ocean, is suggesting that when he references beyond, he is saying to go west. And go west we shall. As we sail westward from the Straits of Gibraltar, where waves sculpt an ever-changing tapestry below, whispers of ancient civilizations echo in its deep blue canvas, we are immediately struck by Plato's reference to a navigable ocean. This term paints a vivid picture of a vibrant maritime route, now starkly contrasted by the cataclysm that rendered the ocean impassable, encapsulated in Plato's words, "The island of Atlantis disappeared in the depths of the sea, for which reason the sea in those parts is impassable and impenetrable, because there is a shoal of mud in the way, and this was caused by the subsidence of the island." This phrase beckons us to consider fluctuating sea levels, which might have unveiled paths previously submerged, fostering a rich, interconnected civilization before tragedy struck. As we delve deeper into Plato's narrative, we encounter a remarkable claim regarding the size of Atlantis, described as being as large as Asia and Libya combined. It is essential to pause here and ponder on this assertion. During Plato's time, the geographical boundaries of Libya and Asia were vastly different from contemporary delineations. Libya referred to a region encompassing North Africa, excluding Egypt, while Asia, in this context, likely encompassed the western part of modern-day Turkey. The juxtaposition of these regions to define the size of Atlantis, however, may suggest a degree of exaggeration, commonly used in ancient narratives to emphasize grandeur and magnificence. Further into the text, we encounter the mention of an island situated within this navigable ocean. This detail seems to narrow down our scope of investigation, focusing on a distinct landmass that stood apart, substantial yet not spanning into a continent. It holds a promise of clues to a civilization with defined boundaries, yet one that held sway over a considerable territory. The narrative then brings to light a series of islands that could be reached from the central island, Atlantis. It paints a picture of a thriving maritime route, a hub of cultural exchange, trade, and interactions that spanned across these islands, bridging distant lands and fostering a rich, interconnected civilization. Plato tantalizingly hints at a pathway extending beyond these islands, leading to a whole continent on the other side. This brings forth the grand image of an extensive maritime route facilitating interactions with lands possibly corresponding to the Americas, an idea that predates the historically accepted time of their discovery, as it was thought that the New World would be undiscovered until 1492.